you like love? Are you a night owl? Then Late Night Love is a place for you. Since life is negative enough, here we discuss everything love. What we love, who we love, and why we love. So join us.
And thank you for joining us tonight on another trip down. Oh, man.
The stream of consciousness that is Late Night Love. And we have a special edition for you tonight. Halloween special. Woo! Happy Halloween, everyone.
Yeah, I blanked on my own intro.
Yes, you did. That's why I'm here, babe.
How the hell did I blank on my own intro? I wrote that thing. I don't. What the hell was that about? Well, thank you for joining us. Happy Halloween. I hope all of you are out having a spooky good time. Or had a spooky good time. I guess if you're still out having a spooky good time, you're an adult and you're playing.
You're playing. You're having some good times.
Hey, knock yourselves out while you're listening to us. So
really.
So we have a couple interesting topics on schedule for tonight, but first I wanted to talk a bit about, hold on a second, I've got to do taking care of a couple business. Witches in beer.
Witches in beer.
Witches in beer. Because you know, or maybe you don't know, that we think the reason we think witches are witches and they appear the way they are is because of there used to be brewers way back in the 1600s.
Oh, making that magical ale.
Magical ale out in the countryside, and the outfits, the broom was what they hung above their door when they had extra beer. So they would hang the broom above the door. So that's where the broom comes from.
Uh-huh.
And it was also the stir stick. But so that was where the brooms thing come from. The hat was when they were going into town showing the beer. They had the beer is here hat. So that's what the big witch hat is for. It was essentially a sign that I'm selling beer.
So ladies with broomsticks above their doorways and the big pointed hats were out selling beer?
Yes. And of course, then once they started putting hops into the beer and getting everybody drunk, see, that's when it became the crackling and the crazy old witch, because they have a history of being drunk, crazy people out in the boonies, kind of like hillbillies.
Uh-huh.
And then you get the church comes by, and then the church gets involved, and it's the devil's drink, and you spin off into the whole, as usually happens, trying to explain the unexplainable through
right
supernatural means, and it becomes witches to try to scare girls away from becoming brewers.
Huh?
Of course, then they just regulated them out of existence. So it was the government regulations is why we don't have women brewers, despite the fact that it used to be women's work, and now it became man's work because of regulations. Because we can't have that. Can't have women out there making their money. Well, back in the 15 and 1600s.
Well, no, that's bad.
You can't have strong, independent women running around drunk in the countryside. I don't know why not, but apparently you can't do
that's bad.
Well, I don't know why it's bad, but apparently it's bad. Seems to me you can't really hurt nobody out there. That's where you want a bunch of drunk people running around, quite frankly. They can't hurt nobody but themselves.
So nobody's business.
Yeah.
But of course we can't have strong-willed women back in the 1600s making their own money.
Yeah, that's
independent.
That's when it became the problem. It's the big business wanted in, and they couldn't squeeze in because they couldn't undercut their prices. So if you can't undercut your competitors' prices, what do?
Regulate them out.
Regulate them into your price range. That's what you do. And so it's just a strange time. That our witches actually have to do with the fact that, water used to not be potable. and so we had to drink beer instead. Because that was the main reason to drink beer, because water wasn't potable.
Right.
And so you drank beer because you didn't want to die from water, from food poisoning.
Yes.
Which is even scarier than witches, quite frankly, dying from food poisoning.
Yes.
But I guess you could get a bad batch of beer, which you call that witch's brew stuff. It comes from. You never know what you get. You never know how strong you're going to get it. You never know what the quality. So there's, but you know how it goes. Ancient people trying to decipher things like what the hell went wrong with our batch of beer. They're guessing at that stage. You'd think. I mean, we're still guessing a lot today. So.
Well, yeah, but it's more of a science. I think to have it a little more dialed in today.
You'd think so, but they're still adding stuff and making new stuff and coming up with new things. And
No, that's true. I'm out of the drinking game. I haven't had to drink in 31 years.
yeah, I don't drink either, so I don't know. But
I hear about it sometimes, and I'm like, oh, okay.
yeah, they're coming up with all kinds of new stuff, and I'm just going. It seems easier if you're still just drinking to drink. We didn't care about the taste back in our day. Our whippersnappers, they all caring about flavor of their alcohol. We didn't taste it.
We didn't have flavors. We had beer.
Flavor.
You're drinking to get drunk.
Yeah, it tastes like pine needles. That's what it should taste like.
Shit.
Tasted like pine needle.
No, that was cream de mint. Ugh.
No.
I nabbed a bottle of that one time. Ended up with green all around my mouth.
No, not cream de mint. I forget what it is. Or something that tastes like pine needle.
Oh.
Anyway, vodka or gin or something. I don't remember. Anyway.
We did have another good Halloween question.
Yes, we did. What was it?
What's your favorite Halloween candy?
My favorite as a child or as
a child?
I don't know. I always preferred the basic chocolate candy bars, Snickers, Kit Kats, those kind of things.
Yeah.
I was never a wild. Who the hell eats candy corn?
I do. Candy corn's good, and the layers have different flavors.
That's the devil's candy, you witch.
Yeah, you put a bowl out and you walk by and you grab a little couple, and you walk by again, you grab another couple. Pretty soon you got a sugar buzz going on.
You got a sugar buzz, all right. Candy corns. That stuff is gross.
It's pure sugar.
Yeah, so is a sweet tart, but sweet tarts are good.
No, candy corn's great. I heard they made blueberry. I haven't tried it though.
Blueberry candy corns. Like I said, they're adding flavors to all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Call it science if you want. Okay, so what else we got over there other than favorite candy? Because it's either chocolate or...
My favorite is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Mm-hmm.
As a child and even today. And today I went over to see two of my grandchildren, and my grandson, he doesn't like his Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, so he gave me all of his. He's a very sweet boy.
Aha.
So now I like eating chocolate at night. It's my guilty pleasure. So now I have a stash.
Mm-hmm. I eat whatever my kids... I felt like stealing from their box, and I usually the Snickers or the Kit Kats. But, I don't have any young ones here anymore. And the grandson spent the day with his other grandparents. So I got no Halloween today. I was going to dress up. I was going to put on my politics outfit. I was going to put the tie and this thing and put the hat on, and I was going to go. So I'm from the government. I'm here to help. That's the scariest freaking thing I could think of. But I decided against it. So
I had a little headband that had a bridal veil off of it. I did it. My daughter bought it to spook you.
know? But if I had worn the politicians thing, you could have worn that, and you could have been the Bride of Frankenstein.
Oh, that would have been great. Gosh darn it, we have to do that next year.
I could go as a politician. You can go the Bride of Frankenstein, because there's nothing more Frankenstein-y than a politician. Just an amalgam of the parts. It's just kind of thrown together into a blob. That's what a politician is. All right, so what else you got over there for today?
Why are cemeteries spooky?
Oh, there's a serious question answer there, and then there's the fun answer.
Well, let's hear the fun answer first.
Well, the fun answer is because they're creepy. There's weird shadows, and the wind blows through the trees and hits the.
Well, it is a little thrilling, yeah.
And hits the noise that they hit, making the headstones and the mausoleums and stuff. And some of those mausoleums will have an open door, and you hear the woo go through it. And of course, you got the squirrels and everything kind of running around, and the birds flying there at night, and the bats kind of flying around because there's always like only one or two lights in the whole place. So they attract the insects, and so the bats fly down. And so there's just a freaky place. Right? And then your imagination runs wild because you're surrounded by a plot of dead people buried in the ground. And, the stories and the movies and your own imagination spiral that baby right up. Especially if, let's be honest, most people who walk through cemeteries at night are teenagers, on some mind-altering substance. And so it doesn't take much to spook you at that kind of a stage.
No.
And then it sticks with you for the rest of your life.
I was just out there smoking cigarettes, but
Well,
it's still spooked the heck out of me.
Well, the nicotine is still, it's a thing. It heightens your senses. It kicks your senses up.
No, I hadn't thought of that.
So the nicotine still does that. It's the same principle, just not as heavy. But fundamentally, it goes back to the thing, you're surrounded by dead people, and we fear death. As instinctually, we fear death. And so as a human, we try to stay as far away from it as possible. And so when you're at a, cemetery, even in the middle of the day, it's a little unsettling for a lot of people.
It is a little unsettling, yes.
Even in the middle of the day with nothing wrong, just kind of, maybe you're going there just to deliver a package to the front desk, right? You've got nothing there you're not there for any particular reason. You're a delivery driver, and you've got to go deliver a package to the front desk. It's still a little unsettling. And I'm not even one who's afraid of death, and I still find it a little unsettling. So, that human instinct to want to stay away from death, it's a strong thing, and it reverberates through our psyche. And we see the signs of death all around us, and our instincts are to get the hell away.
Self-preservation.
Yeah. Death lives here. I don't want to be here. Yeah.
Right.
Which goes to part of all that thing is how at night with the wind blowing and the trees swinging and the strange shadows.
Yet I'm here by choice.
Yeah. I'm getting the hell out. Of course, then there's a strange one of us who go to the cemetery at night because it's the one place you can go where everybody will leave you alone. No one else is willing to go there. So you can go and have some peace and quiet.
Yeah.
So there's a handful of us that do that. But not as many as we think. But ultimately, it's, you find a place where you can find your peace, find your love, and it is what it is.
Of course.
But yeah, we as humans. Me and this stupid microphone every time. Every week. So what else we got? Okay, so we've got candy, we've got cemeteries.
Do you believe in ghosts or angels or both?
I don't know if I'd call them ghosts or angels. I guess I technically would say I don't believe in angels. But ghosts maybe. But what's the difference?
What if ghosts are angels?
Yeah, well, what if the difference?
How do we know?
And what's the difference between a ghost and imagination? You know, if you live in a house that, say, you know, someone passed away, and peacefully even, and you hear something creaky at night, is that a ghost or is it your imagination?
Uh,
It's hard to say.
or wishful thinking. You miss that person.
Yeah, it could be wishful thinking. You know, you could be in a stressful time of your life and you want the comfort of, you know, a past relative, and, you know, makes you feel comfortable. Or you want to be unsettled. You know, we as humans, we like to be unsettled. We have freaking horror movies for a reason.
I don't. I don't watch horror movies.
Well, yeah, but there's a significant portion of the
Yeah,
population that likes that.
I acknowledge them.
Not even necessarily horror movies, but suspense, thrillers. It doesn't even have to be a horror film. It can just be kind of suspense or a thriller. Or, good Lord, they watch those crime dramas. There's something about it. Yeah, humans are weird. You know, we're afraid of all these things, and so we somehow want to watch, see what all the possibilities are. Regardless, I don't know how, somehow our fear of cemeteries and our love of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, you know, there's a connection there somehow. I'm just not sure what the hell it is. And what do you mean, you know, and it's not just, we actually deal with it. Horror movies, you know, your Sharknado movies, it's, you know, that you like so much. Those
were so well done.
Those are technically horror films.
Those were so outrageous. They were funny.
Yes, but they're still gory in horror flicks.
I hadn't thought of that.
They're not much different. They're just packaged up as comedy.
I binge watched them once. I was sick. And I couldn't do anything. I was sick. So I binge watched Sharknado.
Yeah, so what's the difference between
I think there was 3 or 4 of them, I forget. But it was quite the afternoon.
I'm just trying to figure out what's the difference between Sharknado and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Other than the fact that Sharknado is kind of deliberately over the top to
well, that's why Chainsaw Massacre can happen.
Why? Because of Sharknado?
No. Check it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre could happen, but Sharknado can't.
Well, but not Sharknado, but lots of things. It's an allegory. It's not the shark itself that the story is about. It's about random stuff can happen and wipe out and change your landscape.
Well, I didn't go that deep into it. I just saw it as a farce.
Well, yeah, but good art can have. That's the thing. Good art has many levels. You know, if it was a simple propaganda film, that we couldn't sit here and be having a 5-minute discussion about whether Sharknado is deeper than, you know, a fun comedy. This means it's at least decent art, because you can have a discussion. You can have a deep discussion on it.
Yeah.
The meaning of it can be discussed, and you can, you know, explore its depths, or you can watch it for its superficial value. Neither way is right or wrong. It's just there's room there to do both. And there's a lot of movies and a lot of art today that's simplistic. There's no depth to it. It is exactly what it is. And if you try to find depth, that you're not finding depth. You're just imprinting depth that's not really there. But Sharknado is. You're actually right about Sharknado. They are very well done. It is actually a good piece of art. And it's not easy to do. It's not easy to pull off. Most people who try that kind of thing fail because it's insanely difficult to pull off. It's like Ghostbusters. It was incredibly difficult to pull off. The same group couldn't pull it off on Ghostbusters 2. Ghostbusters 2 was a crap movie. The first one was good. It's the same group.
Yeah.
But it's just that hard to be that out there and still be meaningful. So,
well, I don't really see the deep meaning in it. If you can find a deep meaning, I tip my hat to you.
Well, the deep meaning is actually easy. The deep meaning is that the sharks don't represent sharks; they represent randomness.
Ah.
The random acts of that happen in everyday life that transforms your landscape into something that you used to know, and now the world is something that you no longer can understand. And so the sharks themselves don't represent sharks; they represent the randomness of life. And they choose the Sharknado particularly because it's so freaking random. It's the Sharknado, the randomness of the Sharknado that tells you that it's not about the shark. I'd actually like to have the guy who actually kind of came up with the whole thing, because I bet you it's deeper than, and it doesn't mean I've got it right. It just means that I bet you it's deeper than the superficial. It's not just about sharks and getting caught up in a tornado to create a goofy parody of disaster movies. It's something deeper there.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be as successful.
No, otherwise we wouldn't still be able to sit here and talk about it, or at least and sound rational. You'd sound ludicrous. It'd be like trying to, I don't know, I can't think of a really crappy movie at the moment, but
I can't either.
So, well, because a lot of times bad movies actually have a lot of depth to them. They're just bad.
They're just done badly.
Yeah, they're just done badly. There's depth. They're just done badly. It's the superficial. You know, like a lot of the comic book movies that come out recently. There's no real depth to them. It's just wet on its face. Yeah, it's eye candy. Yeah. It's like bubblegum pop. You know, music. It's perfectly fine if all you want is 4 minutes of entertainment. Bubblegum pop, right? That's what I call it. It's like chewing a piece of bubblegum that lasts 5-6 minutes, gives you a nice burst of flavor, but don't expect it to have any lasting value.
Right. Well, Bubblegum Rock is a fun little ditty for a few minutes, but yeah, it's not something I spend hours on.
It can lighten the mood, you know. It can lighten your mood. It can give you a minute to dance around. There's value to it. It's just not going to have long-term value. It's not going to change your life. It's not going to. Yeah, it's all. It has place. It's got its place. Bubblegum has its place. It's just, you know, we don't know. No one sit here having an allegory to bubblegum.
True.
You know, so it's bubblegum.
Yeah.
Light, simple, quick burst of flavor, a little bit of fun, and then you move on. Throw it away. All right, what else we got over here?
Given the choice of anyone in history, who would you invite to dinner?
I would speak with George Washington, I believe. I mean, we're going to assume the fact that, you know, there's no language barriers, just so we can. But especially if the language barrier is the issue, you have to go with someone who can actually speak in English, some form of English. But I still think it would be George Washington. There is an argument for someone like Genghis Khan, but just
Genghis Khan.
It's out of curiosity. It's not necessarily because there's anything. I'm just curious, just intellectual curiosity, just to see what kind of person he actually was. That's so. You can go Genghis Khan, but it would my actual answer if I had to actually choose one, it'd be George Washington, because you know you'd have at least a pleasant evening of conversation.
Yes,
and you could find out the mindset of someone who could have been king and said no, because that just doesn't happen. And you know, I'd like to understand how you get to that point. It's just, you know, for me, that's kind of the mindset. It's not necessarily the person I admire. It's just the mindset I admire, and I want to hear about it.
How he got there, and
and see if it's, you know, and see how much of what we know about George Washington is really true.
Yeah.
You know, it's because we put the man up on a pedestal, and maybe rightfully so. You know, he's flawed like everybody from history, but you know, was it true? Could no one else have been the first president? Is it really true that, you know, and you can't find that out without talking. I'd like to have that conversation. Just for an intellectual exercise, just to kind of let's get some truth about history. Did you really want to be president? The story is you were kind of the reluctant president. Is that actually true? Those kind of things.
Right.
We know you left, and we know you left home, and we know you went home, and we know you turned down the presidency because you were tired and you were wanting to get home. But you just may have been tired and ready to go home. You may have been perfect. It may not have been that I didn't want this damn job in the first place. I'm done. Y'all gonna have to learn to get on without me. At some point, you're doing it now. I'm out of here. Or was it, yeah, I could be president for another 4 years, but it's better for the future of the country if we set a precedent that someone leaves peacefully on their own terms rather than gets drummed out of office either by term limits or by the slow erosion of credibility. And you're better off to leave them wanting more rather than can't wait to see you go.
Right.
Is it that? Well, history will look better on me. Maybe he was thinking history will look better on me if I leave, so I'm going to leave. It's entirely possible that it was a calculated maneuver so he can be seen better throughout in history. He always was someone who wanted society to view him positively. So it's not out the realm of possibility that it was a deliberate choice to have his character be known as something higher throughout
Well, that may have been part of it, if it's a part of his personality.
Yeah, but of course, then does that cheapen the move, or does it?
No, I just think it just makes him human. I would want to have Abraham Lincoln because, well, he's a country boy like me, and I'm a fair country cook, so we'd have a very good meal: fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and gravy, corn bread, or
Did they fry chicken
biscuits.
back then?
Huh?
Did he have fried chicken back then?
Yeah.
You're talking the 1800s.
They would fry chicken
With what?
in bacon grease.
Whew.
I think.
I have no idea. I don't know. No, I don't know. That's why I was asking. I don't know squat about cooking.
Well, we'd have a good dinner, and I want to hear about the decisions he made. I mean, the war took so much out of him. What did he have on his shoulders? Why did he make the decisions he made, and why did he not go further in the Emancipation Proclamation? I don't understand, but so I would want to. I just have some questions.
No, I could explain you why. Because he was trying to hold off New York and other states from revolting on the Emancipation Proclamation. There was always a chance that the handful of northern states were iffy, and so he was always walking a fine line. It was a political maneuver. You have to keep the northern states happy enough, and so. But it also was irrelevant. Once that was done, the rest was going to follow. It was just a matter of the dominoes falling into place. Once the die is cast, you go starting down that road. You're not going back.
Right.
So, and that's what he also knew. But he also, as he said, he would, if he could save the Union without freeing the slaves, he'd do it. If he could save them with freeing all of them, he'd do it. He didn't really care. His whole goal was preserving the Union. And it took him a long time to understand that you can't preserve the Union the way it was, that you had to preserve it, that the only way to preserve it going forward was to do away with slavery completely. It took him a long time to understand that concept, that this is a fundamental moral, ethical dilemma that had to be dealt with, and you can't move forward
without dealing with this.
Ultimately finally dealing with it, because that can have been kicked down the road.
I was going to say they avoided the issue for a long time.
Yeah, all kinds of bizarre compromises just so we didn't have to make this final, because they all knew it was come from the day they passed the Constitution, ratified the Constitution. They knew that was a ticking time bomb. Everybody knew. They did it anyway because it was better than the alternative. Because if they had split, England and France would have just come and picked them off one by one. So it was...
They had to preserve the union.
They had to preserve the union. Otherwise, the bigger countries would have
come and picked us off.
Pick them apart one by one. And so it was an ugly compromise. Which is more moral? Who the hell knows? You know, maybe the world would have been better off if France and Spain and England had picked apart the United States, divided by themselves. Of course, the rest of the world doesn't really show that because they weren't exactly, you know, the ex-colonies of Britain and Spain and France aren't exactly all doing all that great over the course of history.
Uh-huh.
And the United States seems to have kind of took a high place in the world. So it seems to me that, you know, they made the right
quote unquote,
air quote choice, the right bad choice, you know. Which choices you're gonna make? Oh, we've got a list of crappy choices to make. Which one are we gonna do? It's just, you know, I don't know. It's hard to be morally judgmental too much on those people who had to make that compromise, that decision. You know, it's very easy to do, but
it's easy to do. It's in history, look back and say that was morally wrong. But sitting there with the decisions that they had to make, I don't know what I would have done.
Well, no, I remember, because you wouldn't be you.
I wouldn't be me.
You'd be you brought up in a completely different world.
Yes.
And so this notion that, oh, well, you'd probably be just like most people.
Right.
And the truth is, most people, the world was divided. And so it's a coin flip which side of you would have been on. And it doesn't even necessarily mean your family or your area, because the same family, you know, the brother against brother in the Civil War, you had people who had just strong philosophical disagreements. But it was relatively evenly split. But the world was at a tipping point. You know, it was kind of
it was time.
Yeah. Well, it was time. And the truth is, the economics weren't going to work anyway. And so it was going to die out. But it was going to be a slow, painful death of slavery, economic death. It just simply wasn't going to pay out in terms of it's literally cheaper to hire people. The North had figured out it was literally cheaper to hire them as employees than to have slaves. It's cost effective. It's just the people in the South couldn't get their mindset out of the.
I understand.
So, but the economics of it ultimately we're going to win. But it's costing us how much more money to own a slave than to hire an employee. I mean, I can hire 2 employees for the same cost of me buying, housing, taking care of this slave. Well, why would I do that? Well, it's because your mindset is stuck. It's not about the economics, it's about lifestyle. I don't want to destroy my lifestyle. But, well, your lifestyle was eventually going to go away. And it did. It went away. One way or another, it went away. Thankfully. For all of history. And on that unpleasant note, we are going to take a short break for our sponsor. And thank everybody for that quick break. And we are back. So what else we got over there?
Do you believe in near-death experiences?
Well, I've been near death a few times, but I have never had the near-death experience.
I've never had the white light, the light, and go down the tunnel. No,
I've never had that. And so, in terms, do I believe it? Do I believe people have experienced something as they're close to death? Sure. Why would I not believe their experience? Someone tells me something happened while they were in this state. I'm going to believe that's what they interpret. Now, what exactly is it? I have no clue. I don't know if it's your brain sending signals because it's searching for something as you're kind of in that last stages, because that's the last thing that actually dies is the electricity in your brain. And so who knows? Or is it you're actually getting close to the proverbial gates of the next stage of life,
Lifting the veil and going through to the other side.
and then you get a glimpse of it, or whatever your personal experience is. I don't know. And of course, how you interpret what you see is based upon your own personal experiences. So someone's trying to come here and explain something that's unexplainable, and they're using language of today. So it may just be a crass interpretation. It may not be actually what they're actually seeing or experiencing. It could just be the only way they know how to relate it. I just, this is one of those things that until you experience it, there's no way you can know for sure.
Right. I still honor those experience other people that have had experiences. I believe them.
Yeah, I believe that they have.
They had some kind of experience.
Yeah, I don't think they're making it up.
No.
Exactly what it is.
Exactly what it is, we don't know.
We have no clue. But no, they've clearly experienced something.
Yes.
And,
yes.
If you're a person of faith, you're probably going to interpret that through your faith. If you're a person of, say, rationality and science, you're probably going to interpret it as, oh, well, it's my brain doing some things. If you're a person who is questioning one or the other, who knows what it's going to do to you? That's the human psyche, and that's very complicated. You're imprinting at some stage. You're imprinting at that stage. What you're seeing, not maybe. Again,
we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
And I'm not in that much of a hurry to find out.
No.
I don't have faith, and so a lot of people, they have a faith that they know what's going to happen. I don't, but I also don't have a yearning to find out. A lot of people, they need that faith in order to feel comfortable in their lives. And more power to them. However you can get comfort in your life, I'm happy. More power to everybody to do it. But I just don't seem to have the faith that there's something else. There might be. I'll find out. I might have to go to the pearly gates and have some splaining to do. But then, quite frankly, so does the other guy. And why'd you make me this way? Come on, what's some explaining to do? I'm not asking the explaining for the big philosophical questions. I've got answers for those. I want to know personal questions. I've got answers to the big philosophical questions. I can get it. You're a busy guy. You have stuff to do. But why the hell did you make me this way? And then get mad that you made me this way. That's what I want to know. That's it.
I have a faith, but I still don't know what's going to happen. I believe in the near-death experiences of people that have said your loved ones are there and waiting for you, and that's all I'm expecting. I don't know if I go to pearly gates. I don't know if there's a book of judgment. I don't know.
Well, I don't want my loved ones waiting for my ass. There's some of them I don't want to see again. I'm perfectly happy for them. One time I may not want them dead. They're perfectly happy, and I think about them.
Well, too being bad. They're waiting for you.
Damn it. Stop it. I don't even get what I want when I'm dead. God damn it.
No, sorry.
How is that?
Still have to deal with people.
So essentially what happens is I'm going to hell. No matter what happens, I'm going to freaking hell. Just saying.
No, you won't mind. See, you'll be happy to see them too. You'll be in a different state.
I'm already in a different state. I'm happy with the way it is. That's the point. I don't want to go see them. I mean, there's a few people I like to see, but I suppose, but you know, I don't they have their own lives to go, afterlife to go live? Why they gotta go bug mine?
Because they're happy to see you. They miss you.
Maybe hell's a more peaceful place. Maybe I want to go to hell.
Don't say that.
Well, apparently I have to go interact with people in heaven or something. I don't want to do that. I want to go to a place where I get to be by myself.
Then you have to have a roommate too.
For all of eternity.
For all of eternity.
I don't want a roommate for all of eternity.
Well, that's hell.
But you get the same thing in heaven.
They're just there to greet you. You get to go do your own thing after you're done.
Well, until someone dies, and you gotta go. Oh, wait, stop! Someone's dying. We gotta go meet them. Like obligations and shit. Oh God! All right, maybe we should move on before I get myself in trouble.
Which will more likely produce a ghost, buried or cremated?
Oh God! This isn't helping.
This isn't helping.
Well,
I think it doesn't matter. I don't think the body has anything to do with it. I think the spirit is a spirit. It's your spirit.
Well, they
and
didn't
it's
say
independent of a body.
No, it just says more. The question was more likely.
It said more likely produce a ghost, not a
ghost.
zombie.
A ghost, yeah, but I still think the body embodies your spirit, and so you still need a body unless you produced a ghost before you
I think when you're done with it, you're done with it, dude.
Oh man, see, if I wanted to be a ghost, if I wanted to increase my chances of being a ghost, then what you have to do is you have to just increase your chances. It's like being the pharaohs of Egypt. You're just trying to increase your chances. So you
I'm not raising an obelisk to you.
You don't need an obelisk. What you do is you get a casket, a metal casket. It's got to be metal. Then you get it on a hill. You bury me on a hill with a pole, a metal pole, right? Goes right to my head. And so that way, if a lightning string strikes, I can get reanimated as a ghost. And then I can hope it's Casper's universe. I could be like Casper rather than Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice would be scary.
Well, unless you're Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice seemed pretty comfortable. Well, until he screwed up and got his head shrunk. But that's just because he was stupid.
Well, he went a little too far.
Well, he tried to change numbers with the guy who was shrinking heads. Why would you do that? That did make no sense. But anyway, I much prefer Casper's universe. Casper is a friendly ghost and everything. It says so right there on the title.
So I got a Halloween question.
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite Halloween movie?
I don't have one.
I do. Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, you and every other woman on this country. What the hell is that?
Bette Midler. The witch. She's fabulous. She really does a number on that one. If anybody hasn't seen it, I highly recommend it.
Now, the only Halloween thing I wanted to see is the Great Pumpkin.
The Great Pumpkin. Now, I saw a meme. The Great Pumpkin got sold to, or the Charlie Browns got sold to Apple or something.
Yeah.
And for the first time in 50 years, they weren't shown on TV.
Yeah, they're shown on Apple Plus because Apple signed the distribution agreement with whomever.
A tradition gone.
Sorry, I got a copy.
Okay.
I do.
I'll have to go watch that later.
If not, I can find one. I know how to play on the underworlds of the internet and get stuff I need. So I know how to watch it without bowing to the Apple Plus gods of the underworld.
Uh-huh.
Apple Plus. All these. I don't mind all these various subscription systems. I really don't. It's, you can all be with. I don't partake in much anyway, so it's not like a big loss to me. But it seems to me that the goal of these media companies of these entertainment companies, of whoever owns Peanuts, whoever owns the rights to display Peanuts, is they're not really considering the wants, needs, and desires of their customers. And long term, that's going to come back to bite them in their butts.
Yes.
Yeah, you can make a little bit of money short term, but in 10 years, you're going to have the Sears problem.
Sears problem?
Yeah. Well, Sears stopped servicing the needs of their customers. They started worrying about things like financings and roofs and home repairs and all that other stuff, rather than focusing on the needs of their core customers, the shoppers who went into their stores and people who bought stuff from the old Sears catalog. These turned off their Sears catalog right as the internet turned on. They didn't change their catalog to the internet. They didn't become the Amazon. They could have been Amazon. They had the resources, they had the money, and they just didn't do it. They didn't take it seriously. They were making money giving loans to people to remodel their houses. And so they didn't satisfy the needs of their customers, their major customer base, and they started to go to Walmart. And so now Sears is essentially out of business. Eventually that's going to happen to all these other places. They're cutting their customers off from their product. And our customers can just go somewhere else. They think people are going to follow them to Apple Plus. They're not. No one's going to follow to Apple Plus just to watch the Snoopy Halloween thing. No one's going to do that. So it's just to the handful of old Apple customers. Over time, that's going to cost them all these things. But that's beyond our scope of what we generally talk about here. I guess we're going to have to add life, love, relationships, and culture to our
culture. Yes,
we're going to have to add culture to our.
What other Halloween? Of course, there's always The Nightmare Before Christmas. That is a cult classic.
Yeah, I don't pay much attention to
Tim Burton. Oh my God. No, it's so well made.
Yeah, so I don't know much about movies. And Halloween movies, for me, the Halloween movies as we were growing up, they're all the Friday the 13th movies. They all came out on Halloween. All the Freddy Krueger movies back in the day, if memory serves. And so, I don't watch horror flicks. So other than I think the first Freddy Krueger movie is the only Freddy one I saw.
I think I watched it as a teenager, but I probably didn't make it through it. I can't make it my way through horror movies. I get too freaked out.
Well, you would have been Friday the 13th was the 80s, mid 80s. So
with Jamie Lee Curtis.
I don't know.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis was the sister.
I don't know.
They had like a 30-year edition or something, 25-year edition, and she came back and made a cameo. It was a big deal.
I still don't know. So, okay.
Yeah.
So you know more about it than I do. I know squat about movies, but I can tell you about history. So, there's something. I can tell you about love and mindfulness and care and compassion and empathy. I can talk about all that kind of stuff till the cows come home. You want to talk to me about, popular culture, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble, popular culture.
Okay, I have one last Halloween question.
All right.
Actually, I answer this one. Has the hair in the back of your neck ever stood up in a relationship?
Well, okay, that's a relationship, but how often does the hair stand up in your neck?
Very seldom. It was only twice. One had to do with an individual I was dating, and there was a question of childhood safety, and they were so oblivious to it. The hair on the back of my neck just went, ah. and that was the end of that. And another time, it was when I realized it was a long-term relationship, and this person really, it was a bad relationship, and it just hit me at one. There was an incident. This person doesn't care about me at all, and I just, after all this time, and there's still nothing. How could you? What kind of person am I involved with? Oh my God! Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? See, I'm trying to think of what's the spookiest. I don't have things in relationships like that. At least not that I can remember. I probably do. I just don't remember them as it goes. But I'm trying to remember spooky things like, what is the spookiest Halloween you've ever remember?
Oh, my spookiest Halloween?
Mm-hmm.
When I was about 8, and my mom was taking us. She took us. We lived out in rural Ohio, and there was a full moon, and she was taking us to these farmhouses, and it was dark, man. And we'd go up to these houses, and it was all dark, and we were all spooked out to begin with. And then, of course, like maybe it was a dog, then we get scared. But it was just that, the whole Halloween, and it being so dark. I just remember that as being the spookiest Halloween. I was just afraid the whole time.
Well, I'm not sure I should tell my spooky Halloween story here on the live radio. My mother get mad at me. Well, let's go back to the cemetery stories. We spent some time in the cemetery, me and some friends, but we were, had taken stamps.
Taking stamps.
We'll call them taking stamps.
Okay, we'll just leave it at that.
The cute little stamps, I think they were Snoopy or something. I don't know what the hell they were. But yeah. Don't do that in a cemetery.
How spooky was it?
Don't do that in a cemetery because, we couldn't find the way out.
You couldn't find your way out? Oh my God!
Couldn't remember how we couldn't find the way we got in. We couldn't find anyway. And it's one of those old cemeteries, right? So there's mausoleums and big towers and things, and it was really, really
statues
on Halloween.
Oh my God!
And if it wasn't a full moon, it was close to a full moon, and with the windy blowing, and it was freaked the living.
You idiots!
We kept scaring each other. It's just. We didn't need anything else to scare us. We were scaring each other just by walking around, bouncing into each other. Well, I'm gonna go. What's over there? We go walk over there, and you get lost off by yourself, and then you're trying to go. Anyway, oh my God, don't do that. One, don't take stamps. Don't do that. Don't take those things. But just saying. Even though there is actually, if you want to come to self-care, they do treat PTSD with I can't think of the proper medical term for it with those things now.
Is it the mushrooms?
Well, it's part of it, yes, with magic mushrooms, but it wasn't actually but it's the same principle. It's the magic mushrooms and it's the same thing. It's just the chemical version of the magic mushrooms.
Interesting.
So it's a little purer, a little stronger, but the exceedingly low doses is sex, but they use it to treat PTSD, and there's shown some promise. Something about it resets something in your brain. We don't understand it yet, but it appears to reset something in your brain. So it's psychedelics, but maybe that is
psilocybin.
There's a handful of them. Someone will correct me here on the They'll send us a comment. All you have to do.
Yes, please.
Someone will send us the right comment because all you have to do is say the wrong medical term for. I don't even want to say dropping acid, but that's what it essentially is: dropping acid doing LSD.
The medical term for dropping acid. Yes, please.
Yeah, someone send me this.
Anyone out there,
Someone
please
send-
send a link, send the term.
I
We'll
know
look at it.
I know we can look it up on Google and all that stuff, but I'm not going to do it by the time we're going to get to the show. Put it up, do the editing, get it up onto the podcast. Go there, sit there to relax for a little bit. I'm not going to look it up.
It's going to be lost.
Yeah, and then I'm going to forget. So someone please send us the thing, send us the information. And as we kind of get here near the end of the show, we're going to go ahead and close it out tonight. I hope everybody had a safe and peaceful Halloween. I hope no one had anything too spooky happen to them. But if you did, send us a note. We'll talk about it next year. Everything's back to regular schedule next week. We've got our regular daily doses back on tap, and then we're back to they'll be released. I guess these ones technically are 2 weeks ago daily doses, but then they'll get back caught up. We'll go back to our normal schedule for all these. You can find us. Also, you can look for us on MeWe. We have a MeWe group page and a Minds group page because social media is getting all weird, and people like me get booted off. So we're making sure we're having to keep options open. In the next couple of weeks, we'll get our newsletter set up and posted. We'll get a Patreon page set up, and we'll get all the stuff done that we need to get done to start using this as something more. I want to thank you for all your time. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week, if not sooner. From me and Lubby, please remember to love everyone.